Developers love Anthropic, and there's good reasons why. They build models that make it way easier for us to write code, and Claude Code is also really, really good. That all said, I don't consider them good stewards of the open source and software development world. It almost seems like they fell into it, and they're getting away with things that I don't think they necessarily should. From cutting off access to everyone from Windsurf to OpenAI directly, to sending DMCA requests to people who analyze Claude Code too hard on GitHub, to just generally weird vibes about how they present themselves and talk about things. I have feelings about Anthropic. I wish I had more good things to say. I have found myself in a position where I've had to defend them a lot in the past. I've been saying for even longer that I don't really like Anthropic. Today is going to be the day where I finally sit down and explain to you guys all of the things that I don't really like about Anthropic. Please know that I'm speaking from experience here. As someone who paid them $31,000 last month, I have been through it with Anthropic. If we're going to keep offering T3 chat at $8 a month, we need to make some money. So quick word from today's sponsor, and then we'll dive right in. Coding's never been more fun. I can do the parts I like, I can have AI do the parts I don't, and I can think about my systems a whole lot more because we can write so much more code. Code review, however, seems to be the cost. Now that we're shipping more code, we also have to review more code. And I am so tired of the tedious process of making sure every syntactic thing is handled, that we're not doing things that are going to introduce weird bugs. And I just want to know what the PR actually is. Today's sponsor, CodeRabbit, is here to bring AI to our code reviews, and it has changed how we do code review fundamentally. I was so skeptical going in. I really didn't think something like CodeRabbit would be for me, and I'm so thankful I tried it because it has changed how we do code review. It summarizes your PRs, it leaves diagrams for what's actually going on, what happens where, when, and why, a change summary of each file and what was affected in it, but most importantly, it leaves actual comments and feedback on your PR that have caught dozens of bugs that we would have shipped to production. I can tell you with 100% confidence that there are at least 40 bugs that I personally wrote that didn't make it into T3 chat because CodeRabbit caught them. Would my other teammates have caught them? Possibly. Decent chance for some, less of a chance for others. There have definitely been ones that the team missed that CodeRabbit hit. But more importantly, the team no longer has to. Their role in code review isn't going through line by line, making sure I got my syntax correct anymore. CodeRabbit does all that stuff, so my team can focus on the details. The coolest thing is it learns how you and your team work. If it gets something wrong or does something different, you can tell it, at CodeRabbit, no, we don't do it that way. You can add rules and other things too. You can enforce specific behaviors you want in your code base by putting a rule in for CodeRabbit, and now it will call that out in review. Like here, we don't use process.env, we use the T3env package so that we have type-safe environment variable access. And here, someone made a change that used process.env, and it yells at them for it and tells them, no, go use this instead. This is the type of review comment that I feel bad leaving because I don't want to block the PR. CodeRabbit will do it for you. And since it does these reviews so quickly, there's a good chance that you will get these comments before anyone else on your team even starts doing the work. You are no longer inconveniencing your team with your shit code. You're inconveniencing CodeRabbit. It's an AI. Who cares? If you want to stop bothering your team with shit code reviews and want to focus on the details that matter, check them out today at soydev.link/CodeRabbit. These are the core pieces I want to cover. The weird ways they cut off access, their bad open source behaviors, their holier-than-thou attitude, and the fact that their pricing is, to put it frankly, absurd. They're like the one company that's never really lowered prices and seems to only be slowly raising them. But let's start with the cutting off access to competitors because this is a recent drama. I'm going to start with this fun quote from an OpenAI employee. This is a meme quote, but you get the idea. As part of our effort to democratize the fruits of AI and ensure the singularity is helpful, harmless, and honest, we've decided to deny others working on the singularity the ability to chat with our helpful, harmless, and honest model. This is going to be fun. Historically, Anthropic has tried to position themselves as this really positive, good, kind, working for the best of humanity company. And every time someone does that, I get a little bit skeptical. And I find in their case, the contradictions are pretty absurd. There's a recent leaked memo from the CEO, who, by the way, used to work at OpenAI, where he said, unfortunately, I think the no bad person should ever benefit from our success is a pretty difficult principle to run a business on, wrote Dario in a note to staff about the possibility of pursuing Gulf state investments. Yeah. This is the way Anthropic feels like it works right now. They're on one hand trying to be the cool, nice, thoughtful company building these models, but in reality, they're yet another business. And if anything, of the current AI major labs, they're the one contributing the least back. Like, sure, they have MCP, which is a cool standard, but at the same time, they have Claude Code, which is the only one of the modern CLI coding tools that isn't open source. All of the others are. Not only is Claude Code not open source, but as I hinted at before, they have been DMCAing people for trying to reverse engineer it and share what they found. And there's a very, very cringe video where the guy who created Claude Code drops some quotes that I have feelings about.
So we released Claude Code in February.
Yeah.
So it's been about a little over 3 months. What's it been like? What's the reaction been from the community?
Yeah, just insane. Yeah. Like, it's so unexpected. But before we released it, we weren't sure if we want to release it. It was this tool that internally it makes our engineers and researchers so productive. And we were having this debate where, like, is this, a secret sauce? Are we sure we want to give it to people? Because this is the same tool everyone at Anthropic uses every day.
Yeah. They considered not releasing Claude Code because it's secret sauce, and they don't want to give away the thing that makes them so productive. God, it just feels so gross. Like, I'm trying to not be like just straight up rude about this, but like the arrogance necessary to even start to think this way is absurd to me. Anthropic almost seems like they know how weak their edge is. I'm going to make a bold statement. The only reason Anthropic is relevant right now is their early lead on tool calling. They beat everyone else to getting that right. So if you wanted to build your own tools or your own products around AI, if you're building your own agents, if you're building your own thing that runs in the terminal, if you're building an AI editor like Cursor, Windsurf, or whatever else, Anthropic's models were way better at taking a format to describe some work. Like if you want to have it be able to look up the weather, you tell it, do tool name equals weather, value equals some zip code. You tell it that it can do this to get weather information. It will get back the weather information, and it will do it. Their models had this first, and it gave them a huge benefit because up until recently, there weren't many other options that would call tools reliably at all. Even Gemini 2.5 Pro likes to tell you what it's going to do with the tools and then not do it. And I've consistently found it get nerfed randomly with updates so that it gets even worse when you're trying to use it for real agentic tasks. I still find the Anthropic models to be the best by far for this. That said, they're now facing competition. GLM 4.5 and Kimi K2 are the biggest risk that Anthropic's ever faced. These models are really good at tool calling and they're open weight, which means not only can we use these for free however we want, we can use them to generate data to train other models to be good at tool calling as well. These are two open weight models that anyone can go download and use that do the thing that made Anthropic so special a year ago that only they could do. 3.5 Sonnet was a game changer, and it took us almost a year to catch up outside of the Anthropic bubble. But the catch up has happened. There are lots of other models that can do this now. The Horizon models that are currently available on OpenRouter that are probably by a big lab handle tooling really well. Newer OpenAI models like GPT 4.1 does tool calls really well. These open weight models do tool calls really well. They're losing their edge. They were briefly better at UI too. Like for a while, the Anthropic models were the ones that were best at Tailwind. I had Claude 4 Opus generate an image studio for my video on the Horizon models, and this is what it looked like. It did a fine job. But when you compare that to what Horizon generated, it's a night and day difference. Like they're about to lose their edge on UI. And this is a non-reasoning model, by the way. Horizon Beta doesn't have reasoning, and it was still able to make something this much better than the most expensive model that Anthropic currently offers. Their edge is going fast. And the way that they've historically operated as a business has been very protective of that edge. They claim that companies like Windsurf and OpenAI are trying to use their models to make theirs better. They're trying to steal that secret sauce, the thing that we just heard about in the previous video. No, that's a silly way of thinking about it. In a world where people can't stop publishing their research, sharing their learnings, releasing open weights, and more, it's kind of insane that Anthropic's the only company that's done all of this wrong. Anthropic's the only company that released their CLI closed source. Both Google with Gemini CLI and OpenAI with Codex have fully open sourced their CLIs and even take contributions adding other model support to it. The day that Codex came out by OpenAI, there was a PR file that added Claude models, and it was merged the same day. They're also the only company that doesn't release open weight models. I know, OpenAI hasn't, but I have a feeling there's one coming very, very soon. Hell, by the time this video is published, it might already be out. They're trying really hard to get it right. Anthropic seems to have no interest whatsoever in that. They're also the only lab that never drops prices or does anything to make things cheaper. Even Gemini overhauled their cache layer, which was an immediate drop in the costs for us. They don't. There are things that they do that are good. I don't want to just sit here and rail on them. Their system cards, Anthropic's to be credited for Snitch Bench. I wouldn't have made that bench if it wasn't for the detailed system card they published with Opus and Sonnet with V4. Those system cards gave us really good ideas, and they were also heavily misinterpreted by a bunch of lunatics on Twitter that I had to prove wrong by making a benchmark that's now relevant and possibly has research being published about it. Crazy. They also kind of make standards. Like MCP, as much as I hate it, is okay. And there really wasn't a way for them to do that without just releasing it as a standard. But yeah. I'm trying to think of other good things to say, and I'm honestly kind of struggling. I just have rough feelings. You need to account for my bias and the fact that Anthropic is one of the biggest bills that I encounter at any given time. The amount of my money that these guys are taking is absurd, and the discount they offered us was 5% if we commit to minimum $20K a month of spend. So if I send them 60 grand, because it's a minimum 3-month commitment, if I hand them 60 grand, they'll be kind enough to give me 5% off until we hit the 20,000 of spend, and then we're back to the normal rate again. What? It's insane. It's absolutely absurd. But I want to dig more into the access cutoff stuff because I think this is particularly bullshit. The Windsurf one was extra funny because the Windsurf acquisition never even went through. Anthropic was just being aggressive early because they're kind of arrogant pricks. Like, there was no reason for them to do this. Their chief science officer, Jared Kaplan, was interviewed and asked about this. And he said on stage, I think it would be odd for us to be selling Claude to OpenAI. Windsurf got cut off hard from Anthropic, but there's something really funny about how that works. Anthropic models can be used on GCP and AWS. You go to OpenRouter, you go to Claude Sonnet 4, you'll see that not only can you use Google Vertex and Bedrock for their models, they're actually faster and often more reliable. It's at the point where it's hard to use Claude models just through the official APIs because OpenRouter will make it way more reliable because when Anthropic goes down, which believe me, they will go down a lot, you can fall back on Amazon Bedrock or the many different Vertex deployments instead. So when Anthropic cuts somebody off, they're not even cutting them off from access to the model. They're forcing them to restrict access to something like the Anthropic infra directly. So you can still use Claude in the Windsurf editor. They're just being petty. The only reason they would do this is because they are angry and they want to vent about it publicly. And the reason they would do that is they want people to see them for how they feel, which is what we're doing here. And we're going to make fun of them for it because it's petty, narcissistic, bullshit fucking behavior. And I can't believe a real billion-dollar company is doing this. These fuckers are worth $60 billion and they are arbitrarily restricting access and calling fucking stupid shots out on stage because they're so insecure. It's insane. I can't believe this is just continuing to happen. And the reason we're filming this today is because Anthropic and OpenAI just confirmed the fact that they have been cut off from Claude access as well. Why would OpenAI need access? They need to run fucking benchmarks. That's why. This is an attempt to keep OpenAI from being able to run benchmarks comparing the Anthropic models to their models. But as I mentioned before, they can just use them from the other providers. So this is purely petty, this is purely spite, this is purely pathetic, and they deserve to be called out for their bullshit. This is something that an insecure product manager does at a company. This isn't something that a big multi-billion-dollar company does. At the very least, they don't do it without being made fun of, which is what we're all here for today, because this is fucking pathetic. The more I read into this one, the more fucking stupid it gets. Here is the statement from Anthropic spokesperson. Claude Code has become the go-to choice for coders everywhere, so it was no surprise to learn OpenAI's own technical staff were also using our coding tools ahead of the launch of GPT-5. Unfortunately, this is a direct violation of our terms of service. Customers are banned from using the service to build a competing product or service, including to train competing AI models. They're also not allowed to reverse engineer or duplicate the service. This is pathetic. This means I just realized this means we can't use Claude Code. Apparently is against the terms of service for me to use Claude Code because we're building T3 Chat, which is a chat app that competes with Anthropic. Are they going to cut off access to the model for our website too? Am I going to have to stop offering Anthropic models because they're that insecure? Is it really coming to that point? Are they really that pathetic? Are they going to cut off Google too because Google has better models? I can't help myself but poke the bear a little bit. If you haven't already tried T3 Chat, we've been pouring our heart and soul into this app. It's really, really good. For $8 a month, you get access to every model versus $20 a month for getting access to 3. Both are limited, but their limits are way less transparent, and their app also sucks. I have a long video describing all the ways Claude.ai is a miserable thing to use. We built something that we slaved over the details so it isn't miserable to use. We support all the Claude models and all of the other really good models as well for $8 a month. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'll give you the first month for $1. Use code WeirdVibes at checkout for that discount. Anyways, like, is Google no longer going to be allowed to offer Anthropic models on the cloud? I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I legitimately think there's a moment coming up where Google and Anthropic have a big explosive breakup because they're now making models better than Anthropic. This is going to get messy real fast. Let it be known that I called this one first. Anthropic's going to get way pettier and way messier and start doing things that are obviously stupid. Because the things they're doing right now, in my opinion, are obviously stupid. Much like DMCAing somebody because they're fond of the work you did. This one's insane. Dave Schumer dug into the Claude code source, and he had a fun time with this. Again, Anthropic is really insecure, so they went out of their way to try and restrict access to Claude code source, even though there were already existing open source things when they released it, including Aider, which is a really good open source CLI agentic coding tool built in Python. So Dave was curious how Claude Code's implementation differed from Aider. So he went to look and got a gigantic, messy, minified file from what was grabbed from the NPM package. You can see some Sentry stuff in here, so they're using Sentry within the CLI. Interesting. But they did have enable source maps on, which means when you scroll down, you can find the source map. Apparently, though, an update was pushed when he took a quick break, and in that update, the source map URL string was gone. The folks at Anthropic realized they made a huge oopsie and pushed an update that removes the source map. No matter, I'll go grab the earlier version. Oh, they removed that too. Do you know how hard it is to get NPM to remove an old version of a package? You pretty much cannot do it. Someone had to pull a lot of strings in order to get a different version of a package taken down from NPM. That almost never happens. So there's a really funny blend here of the incompetence to ship the source map URL, the insecurity to care enough to obfuscate it in the first place, and the connections and just kind of bullying behaviors that they have to actually get it taken off of NPM. That is pathetic. Thankfully, Dave still had it on his machine, so he was able to go through the source map URL and actually break it down and find all of the source code. Confirm that it's using ink. The animation is just some ASCII characters. There's no secret sauce to leak in the system prompt. Remember the secret sauce they were concerned about? There's jack shit for that. Files will probably go out of date pretty dang quick. It's the Anthropic team's actively developing the tool. They're already up to 2.19. This was from 2.8. So the reward for publishing that code was a DMCA strike. Thankfully, GitHub, unlike Anthropic, is a relatively transparent company. So all the DMCA requests they get published on their DMCA repo. So we can see that Anthropic did this. And we can see this is far from the only time they have done this. They really like to DMCA people trying to rehost Claude code. Look at all those repos they took down for their own mistake. The harsh reality is that if it wasn't for the recent innovations in tool calling across other models, we would kind of be stuck with this and have to deal with it. Thankfully, there's been a lot of innovation across other models catching up to and surpassing Anthropic. It seems like this has been a focus point for OpenAI for a lot of this year. As I talked about a bunch before in the 4.1 drop video and the 0.4 mini drop video, OpenAI seems to really want to win devs back. Because it turns out it doesn't matter how smart your model is on a benchmark. If developers aren't using it and they're not building things around it, you have a real chance of losing in the long term. And Anthropic's edge has been that developers like them and build things around them. That edge is waning fast. If they were a reasonable company, they would recognize that and course correct. They would open source Claude code. They would drop older models as open weight. They would lower their prices a bit. They'd go on a PR repairing spree trying to fix all of these things. The fact that Anthropic's by far the hardest company for me to talk to and get information from, I can get our rate limits increased on Gemini via a DM or a text message. I don't hit them on OpenAI because we're already cleared through that. In fact, OpenAI hits me up letting me know about things early. They're awesome. OpenAI has been so nice to work with as an influencer and as a builder building on top of their stuff. Anthropic I had to pull so many teeth to get a slight bump in the rate limits on Anthropic's infrastructure. It was miserable in order to get Claude 4 working on T3 chat day one. Wouldn't wish that on our worst enemies or our competition even. The best I can put it is what I put in the title here. I just get really weird vibes from them. My experience working with Anthropic, building on top of Anthropic, covering Anthropic, looking into their practices, finding all of these things, just every time I'm looking more into Anthropic, it just feels weird. And it sucks because some of my really smart friends are working there doing awesome things. Some of their research is genuinely incredible. The level of detail in their system cards is super useful. Their models are making awesome stuff happen, but the way they run their company is cringe at best, problematic or damaging at worst, and we need to talk about it more. I'm tired of pretending that Anthropic's models being smart for writing Tailwind means that we can forgive them for everything, when in reality, they are the worst company in the modern models market when it comes to working with them as a developer. We'll see how long it takes for them to cut off my access now that I've published this video. Fingers crossed that they won't, but at the very least, we'll get some good content if they do. I got nothing else to say. Thank you for listening. Peace, nerds.